Hi, and welcome back to this series about ASP.NET Core. In this episode we are going to see how to handle exception, especially we are going to see how to handle exception in two different ways. The first one is related in case the exception need to be catched by a developer. So we need to see in the page exactly the stack trace and all the information that allows us to find the solution to the problem. And the other way is related to the final user that needs to see a specific error message. For this task, I just created a simple application, a web application using MVC. So if I run it, I'm going to see a web page, nothing complex. Let's run it. Okay. There is the home page, the contact page, and the about page. The first point is to create an exception so I can catch it. Let's go back into our MVC application. Okay, stop here, as because we are running on MVC, I have a controller, in this case the home controller. Okay, in case of contact I want to write an exception. So int.parse, this is not a number. I'm pretty sure if I go here I can get an exception. So run it again. Let's push the contact button. It's running. Okay, here we go. Contact. I get the exception. That's pretty cool. Here I can see the exception because I'm using the logging, but here nothing appears. I have 500. If I go to inspect element, network, or request, refresh again, push play, and go back here, 500 and no more. This is because by default ASP.NET Core doesn't return anything in case of error. How can I fix this problem? If I'm a developer, I'm running it on my machine, I want to see the exception in the page. How can I do that? It's really pretty simple. I have to go back into our startup class, and here I can write something like app.useDeveloperExceptionPage. If I run again my application, and I click on contact, I have the exception of course, but if I go back on the page, I have something better for me. The time exception is saying that the input string was not in correct format. And here is the error on home controller line 19. If I click here, I have more information about the exception, about the line, sorry. And if I go on the bottom of the page, I have a show row exception detail. Here, all the information. Moreover, there are a few tabs here. Query. Here there are all the data in query string. So if I write here something like id equals sample, id equals sample, and I refresh the page, go back on query, I have a variable id with the value sample, I have the cookies and all the headers of the request. So it's pretty helpful, absolutely better of the yellow page of that about the previous version of ASP.NET. But this is better, but it's better for a developer, not for the final user. In this case, I want to show a specific page that's saying, oops, I'm sorry, something went wrong. To do that, I have to go back on my application and create the exception page. In this case, I already did it. There is here an action into the home controller that render the view error. The view error is here, and saying nothing special, an error occurred. Okay, how can I say to ASP.NET Core render that exception page? So the first thing to do is remove the developer exception page. It's enough to say app.useHandler exception, and here I can say home error. Okay. If I run my application again, and I click on contact, this is the error, that's good. If I go here, I have my error page. is working. Is working very well. So in case of error, I'm showing this page. What about a 404? Because here I'm handling the 500. About doesn't exist about page. So if I click here, I get a 404. But it's an error. I have to send a specific message. The page you're looking for is not available right now. Please try again later or whatever. How can I do that? We can go here, back. Still in our startup class, I can do something like that. Oops. Copy this one. After the use exception handler, I can write this code. Basically, I'm saying for all status code, redirect the user to this page. Okay, this page is home error. If I run again, and I click on about page, I have the error page, but this is the page for the 500, not the 44 is different. How can I change this? Let's go back into our views. As you can see here, there is not found. Is a simple page that's saying 404 page not found. I'm redirecting the user to home control, sending here. This means replace the 0 with the status code. Okay, so I can go on my home controller, error, add something like string, string ID, because I'm using the MVC with the default route. And here I can do something like if ID is equal to 404, return view not found. Otherwise, error is fine. Let's run it again. About, this is not found. I contact, oops, is returning the 500. It's working very well. So now I'm able to handle different status code, because here I'm getting this status code is 404. I can put a breakpoint here and refresh this page. As you can see here, I get 404. I can handle 41 or whatever with different messages. Now the only point is, how can I manage a developer exception page and user-friendly exception page? But we are going to see this in the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed Handling Exceptions in ASP.NET Core, presented by Ugo Lattanzi and Syncfusion. To get free ebooks on .NET Core and other development topics, head to syncfusion.com.